Spot on, MJ.
There you go.
That's wonderful. There she is. Well, anyway, everybody, thank you very much for tuning into Aspects of Energy. This is a new series that explores ways to raise our energy. So I thought the best way to start off this series would be with water, because water affects absolutely everything in our bodies, from the smallest synapse to the bending of joints to the thinking of thoughts. And who could be better than MJ Pangman, who wrote Dancing with Water. I do have the book. I'm not really sure that I can get it for you, but there it is, Dancing with Water. What an absolutely intriguing title. And if you've got questions as we go along, go ahead and put them in the chat and we'll address them. MJ is a research scientist. Listen to some of these chapter headings. This is so cool. Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. The influence of light, the influences of sound and vibration, the influences of magnetism and electricity, selecting a source of water, how to structure your water, how to add information to water, therapeutic water. This is fun stuff. So MJ also uses a phrase, full spectrum living water. So it sounds like water isn't just water, that there are different levels, different kinds of water. So we would ask ourselves what makes the best water. And I'm going to pass it to MJ and just let you talk for about 15 minutes, and then we'll get some Q&A from these people.
All right, great. Thank you, Elaine, for the opportunity to share some insight with your group and for the work that you're doing, which is awesome. Because right now there are a lot of people like yourself who are stepping up to the game and stepping up to share what they have to offer the world. And it's an amazing time on this planet. It seems chaotic, but we are opening the doors to so many fun things right now. So, the world of water. I like what you told me when you asked me to share some insight with you and your group. And that was that you recognized that water was the foundation. There were a number of years ago, I remember, I think it was the University of Michigan, came out with a new food pyramid. The one that we are currently presented with in the world is 1,000 years obsolete. But the unique thing about the pyramid that they created was that they put water on the very bottom. So that was the first thing you have to have is hydration. And then you can start adding in the food groups. And of course, they started next with vegetables and fruits rather than, grains and wheats, grains and seeds. But anyway, I was very impressed with the fact that a number of years ago, somebody came up with that concept, which is absolutely right on, because as you said, water's the foundation of everything. If you're not hydrated, you can't assimilate anything. And as you said, Elaine, water is the basis and the crux of everything that goes on enzymatically, hormonally, assimilation-wise. Everything in the body requires water for it to happen. I'm going to even say, years ago when I started my research with water, they came to the understanding that even the DNA must be surrounded by structured water. That is an organized, at a molecular level, water structure. It holds the DNA together. When they started doing computer simulations, they put all the DNA molecules together and they ran their simulations, and the DNA would always fly apart. And that was because they didn't have water incorporated into the equation. And when they put the water in, then they could begin to get some accurate computer simulations going of DNA, which I thought was always very interesting. So water is the foundation. And when the water is allowed to do the things that nature provides the way for it to do. And by that, I mean things like movement, free movement, not movement in straight pipes delivered to all of our homes the way it is, movement and the exposure of water to natural, magnetic, and electromagnetic fields that are inherent in the earth. When water is exposed to these kinds of things, and when there is a balance of minerals in the water, these are the 3 M's that I refer to: magnetics, minerals, and movement, then water acquires a unique molecular organization. We refer to it as water's structure, where those H2O molecules actually align themselves in a repeating pattern. And that gives water the capacity to transmit information more clearly, to hold signals, to carry information, and to amplify information. That gives water the capacity to work like a crystal. And so we refer to this kind of water as liquid crystalline water. What a beautiful thing. I mean, think of your water as a liquid crystal, that beautiful thing that comes to mind when we think of crystals and we think of the faceting that's in nature's crystals. Then when this happens, the properties of water change and water becomes more efficient. So everything that your body requires water for has the capacity to become more efficient. When we submit water to the right kinds of circumstances and the right kinds of energies that are inherent in water's natural flow on the earth, then we've got more efficient water, and water that can amplify the natural signals that are always going on back and forth to keep our bodies functioning at an optimal level. So I'm going to just take a couple minutes before my time's up here, and we go into some questions to sort of give you some ideas about how that might be possible from a scientific perspective without getting too deep for you. Most people recognize that carbon is the element that creates coal as well as a diamond. Well, what is the difference? Because they are both carbon. And I'm going to remind you and illustrate this property of organization by just reminding you that the difference between coal and a diamond is organization. Deep in the earth, under the pressure of everything inside the earth, that coal has to become at a molecular level more and more and more organized. And in the process, everything changes about that coal, and the properties of that coal change. The element itself, carbon, doesn't change, but the way those are organized and held together in a repeating pattern, and that's the nature of a crystal. It's repeating molecular pattern. So that's kind of what we're talking about here when we're talking about water's structure. Elaine wanted me to talk about why we called the book Dancing with Water. That kind of evolved, but honestly, it's the most beautiful thing to talk about, our dance with water. And the opening page of our website says, each of us at a very deep level longs to dance with the water. And truly at a very deep level, each of us longs to dance with nature's elements, with the earth, with the plants, with the minerals. And it's that dance that is really the dance of life. And so we talk about water in the book Dancing with Water as being a partner, our life's partner. And truly it is. But our goal, and there is a co-author to the book whose name is Melanie Evans, and our goal, she and I, in writing this book, was to bring people to a conscious or a more conscious awareness of their relationship with water. And when you do that, you automatically bring yourself to a conscious relationship with all of nature and with this great Mother Earth. And so once you awaken to the fact that water is a conscious essence, and that we can work with water on a conscious level, the whole world opens up for interacting with that water. And Elaine, you read one of the chapters in the book is how to add information to water. Being a conscious essence, water is very open to an interchange with each one of us. And that's the personal dance that evolves when you open your heart and your mind to water. And I also know, Elaine, before I hand this back for any questions, that being a conscious essence and aware of your interaction with water, your presence of mind, your wishes, your intentions are picked up by water all the time, whether you know it or not. And when you participate at a conscious level and hold that water to your heart, you raise the vibration of that water more than almost anything that you can do. So just acknowledging your relationship and your dance with water opens another level of the amount of energy that water then can reflect back to you, because water does reflect. And we do a quarterly meditation for the water, but at the same time we recognize that everything that we choose to give in love and gratitude to the water is also always sent back to us in greater measure, because that's how nature works. So, with that little bit of background, I'll open up to whatever questions you have in what's possible with water and how to, or wherever you want me to go with this.
Well, first of all, people in your chat, if you want to go over, there are two images there. The first image says page 4 water. This is on page 4, and it shows a picture of the double layer. Do you want to explain about that? How it's the structure, the double layer structure that allows water to hold information?
I'm going to try something here. Oh, we didn't set me up as a co-host.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. I put some diagrams back, available on the computer. So water is H2O. That means there's 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. That's a water molecule. But that would be gas, because if it was isolated in just 1 molecule, that would be a gas. But water has what are known hydrogen bonds, very weak bonds that allow each one of those water molecules, those H2O little groupings, to hook up with other H2O groupings. And that creates a liquid that's also very fluid. And those bonds are weak. They're not like the strong bonds that hold the hydrogen and the oxygen of the water together. They're weaker bonds, and so they actually exchange all the time. And those weak bonds, when you put water, when you influence water with the magnetic field of the earth, or when you use magnets around your water, you can also help the water, encourage the water under that. It creates a kind of a pressure to those molecules, and they must be forced, because there are electromagnetic fields involved. They're forced to kind of create an alignment. And this is this repeating geometry that I'm talking about in a liquid crystal. And that geometry, in the case of water, is based on hexagonal geometry. So there are repeating hexagonal layers that can actually move back and forth so that water can incorporate minerals. So these hexagonal layers will layer around the minerals that are in your water. And when the water is what we call structured, oh, there you go, Elaine. If you look at hers, these are 2 layers shown, and how water's a laminar substance. So you've got layers of these hexagonal units that line up in a liquid crystal. And it's not a solid alignment. Like we said, it's a fluid alignment, which is kind of like a sheet blowing in the wind. where everything is moving together. And so once you get the minerals in the water, you've got the minerals working, you know, and it's not like this alignment can't be disturbed. We're not talking about things like that, but around minerals which have a charge to them, or if they're in an ionic state, which is more ideal, the water is more tightly held and able to hold this structure. So minerals are important in water. And this is something else, I guess I will say, we really don't encourage people, unless they're doing a cleansing, to drink demineralized water. That's distilled water, and especially not reverse osmosis water, which is very difficult to put back water, to put minerals back into once the RO process is finished. Extremely harsh process for water, and takes a lot of water. It takes water a lot of time to recover from that, and it doesn't incorporate minerals very well. So it's not something a lot of people want to hear, because RO is one of those methods that the mainstream has pushed to us, but it's not a healthy option at all. So, you know, like I said, movement, minerals, and magnetism of some kind. And there are a number of different ways to add electromagnetic, natural electromagnetic frequencies that the water is used to on the planet Earth back to the water.
Before the number.
Did somebody have something there?
No, I think
to
it's
say?
his background.
Oh, okay. All right. So there, I mean, that's the alignment that happens. It's based on hexagonal symmetry.
Wow. Well, what
Any other questions, or should we just keep going?
We'll have, no, we have some time for questions.
Michael has one. He's raising his hand.
Go for it, Michael.
You got to unmute yourself, though.
I didn't actually have a question, but I do have a comment. Another benefit of magnetism I've read is that it's the only thing that can, since water has memory, essentially homeopathic therapies are the dilution of an element in a solution to the point where that element is virtually removed, but the essence, the signature of that element, frequency of that element remains in the homeopathic remedy. Same with water. Even though you may purify the water of lead, you haven't eliminated the signature of lead in the water. So purified water or water that's been treated is best treated with the passing of a magnet to clear that signature, so that the water itself is really neutral of any of its impurities, previous impurities.
Very good comment, Michael. And that's correct, because you see, water does hold information, and it holds information better when it's in a liquid crystalline state. But water has the capacity to let go of old information and to receive upgraded information. And that's always happening, because of course water is the source of our connection with the web of life. And so the information that the earth is giving to us in a supportive way all the times, as the seasons change and as we move through the galaxy, through, you know, everything is changing, and our relationship to everything in the galaxy and in the universe is changing all the time. And we need upgraded information in order to make those changes seasonally, as well as, you know, as we progress through our lives. Things are changing. And so water has to have the capacity to let go of the old and to receive again the new. And the electromagnetic fields are a part of that process. Especially as you spin water through a magnetic field, you allow the water to let go of the old. So that, I mean, that throws something else out there that I can share with your group, and that's that the best form of movement for water is to create some kind of a spin for water. And so a lot of the devices that are out there for people to use to upgrade their water will spin the water within a magnetic field. And that's one way to bring structure to water. There are many ways, but water when she moves, always creates vortices. So it's like you hit a rock, but when the water does that, it has to curl back on itself and always creates that vortex. So however you're moving water, whether you're shaking it or just allowing it to flow, any obstacle of any kind, whether it's the edge of a surface or, you know, a rock, will cause the water to spin. And so in nature, as water's moving, no matter how that's happening, water is always letting go and receiving the new. And so, Michael, your point is very well taken, and thanks for that comment. Given that, here's a simple way to bring structure to your water. If you have nothing melts but a few refrigerator magnets, tape them around a pitcher of water. And if that pitcher is rounded, that's better. That's a whole nother discussion. But if that pitcher is rounded, the way water can conform nicely, then taping magnets on the outside of the pitcher and stirring the water will, and then I keep looking at you. Your name is so Hattie Jane.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for your interaction in a very beautiful way that I can't really go into, but I know you understand what I'm saying.
Thank you kindly. I'd like a little insight for how the water structure. I understand your concept, my concept, your chemistry and how things are structured and crystalline. How does that interact with our tissues in the human body?
Well, good question. Because if the water is liquid crystalline in nature, it's going to have the capacity then to, like I said, amplify energy. It's going to carry energy better. And as an energized liquid crystal, even water knocking on the membrane of a cell door will get more opportunity to enter because it's energized. And we don't have to go into the substance of that energy necessarily, but energized anything is going to get more attention. Just like I'm reading your attention, and you know, because I can see your interest. And so how does that affect the tissues? When the water is structured, it's able to introduce more energetically at the cell membrane. It's also able to carry signals more energetically, faster, clearer, cleaner, and it's also able to take nutrients to the cell membrane for introduction in an energized fashion. I don't know what you know about chemistry, but the cell membrane is charged. And when it doesn't have a charge, it can't receive nourishment. And so if water, quite interestingly, when water forms this crystalline structure, it has a negative charge. So that gives it the capacity to knock on the membranes and the tissues a little bit more energetically and say, hey, I've got something for you, whether that be information or nutrients or whatever. So good question.
Thank you.
MJ, we would all just, you know, I'd rather cut it off early than late, but we would all love to listen to you tons. Again, over in your chat, there's a YouTube address of a longer session that she had with Dave Johnson, about 40 minutes on that one. And so she's able to go into it a little bit more. I hope that's okay, MJ, if I put your email there, mj@dancingwithwater.com. And again, her book is just so interesting. We've just gotten a taste with it. Oh my gosh, stop. Anyway, we're going to have some topics every week where we just talk about ways to raise our energy. And next week is Michael DiMuccio is going to be talking. He's done a lot of work in these last couple of years, especially with raising Well, he's always done the work, but in being able to, you know, really explain it to us in a way that makes sense of raising our thought energy to be different people, to be more of who we want to be. Is that right, Michael? He's nodding. That's good. If you have topics that you would like to have, please let me know. My email is brewstersinger@me.com. And that's again written over on the top of your chat. I would love to, you know, to be able to help us all to think about just little things that can help us to grow. So we'll leave you now thanking MJ once more for being on. Thank you. So everybody go and have an energetic day. And I would say go find someone to smile at, because it will raise their energy and it will raise yours. See you later.